Rejected, overlooked, too small, too weak. That was the label stamped on Pedri González long before the world knew his name. For years, he was just another kid with a dream. Not a prodigy, not a youth sensation, just a boy with a deep love for the game. While other future stars were being scouted by elite academies and fast-tracked to stardom, Pedri was kicking a ball around the dusty streets of a small island town, where raw instinct meant more than physical dominance, and where football was played with joy, not pressure. Born in Tegueste on the Canary Islands, Pedri didn't have a golden ticket to the top. He wasn't groomed at La Masia or La Fabrica. He didn't have agents knocking on his door at the age of 10. Instead, he learned to play in the streets and sandy pitches of his neighborhood, often in cramped spaces that demanded quick feet and even quicker decisions. It wasn't about strength. It was about thinking faster than the defender in front of you. It was about making something out of nothing, again and again. Pedri's family didn't have riches, but they were rich in passion. His grandfather was such a devout Barcelona fan that he went on to create an official supporters club in their small town. His father ran a bar that became a shrine to the Catalan giants. And for Pedri, Barca wasn't just a club on television, it was a way of life. He watched every match religiously, studying the movements of Andrés Iniesta, soaking in his intelligence, his calm under pressure, his elegance and possession. Iniesta wasn't big, he wasn't the fastest, but he was a magician, and Pedri saw himself in him. By the age of 15, the boy who had spent years in the shadows finally got a break, a trial with none other than Real Madrid. It was a dream scenario, the kind that most kids in Spain can only imagine. This was the moment, the chance to announce himself to the world's most powerful club. But as fate would have it, a snowstorm hit Madrid that week. Training was halted, sessions were cancelled, opportunities vanished. When he finally did get a chance to play, it was rushed, unorganized, and uninspiring. The coaches didn't see enough, the scouts weren't impressed. And just like that, the door slammed shut. Real Madrid told him he wasn't good enough, too weak, not fast enough, not special enough. Years later, Pedri would recall that trial with a mix of irony and quiet satisfaction. I couldn't train with Real Madrid because there was snow on the field, he said. In the end, they told me I wasn't good enough. Now, I am where I want to be. He didn't let it break him. He didn't let it define him. Instead, he let it fuel him. Because rejection isn't the end of the story. Sometimes, it's the spark that lights a fire the world can't ignore. After the disappointment in Madrid, Pedri returned home. Not bitter, not defeated, but focused. If the biggest club in the world couldn't see his worth, he'd show it somewhere else. That somewhere turned out to be Unión Deportiva Las Palmas, a second division club in Spain that was hardly in the headlines. But they saw what others didn't. They didn't care that Pedri was skinny. They didn't care that he didn't fit the mold. What they saw was his touch, his vision, his ability to slow the game down when everything else was moving fast. At just 16 years old, they offered him a contract, and he said yes. And the moment he arrived, something was different. The coaches, the players, even the fans could tell there was a calmness about him, a maturity that was hard to explain. Pedri didn't play like a teenager. He played like a man who had already lived through seasons of top-flight football. His control was surgical, his decision-making almost prophetic. In tight spaces, he didn't panic. He glided. In open play, he orchestrated. In the 2019 to 2020 season, he made his debut, becoming the youngest player to ever do so for Las Palmas. And this wasn't some ceremonial debut. This was a 16-year-old, starting in a league known for its roughness, its physicality, its no-mercy approach to rookies. But Pedri thrived. Game after game, he outplayed men twice his age, navigating pressure like a veteran. He wasn't scoring hat-tricks or making viral highlights. He was doing something far more impressive, controlling matches from midfield. At 16, by the end of the season, everyone in Spain knew his name. His performances didn't go unnoticed. Scouts returned, this time from clubs that had actually done their homework. Among them was a struggling giant, FC Barcelona. At the time, the club was in disarray. Messi's future was in doubt. Financial issues were bubbling under the surface. They needed a new chapter, a spark, a player who didn't just wear the shirt, but understood what it meant. And for just 5 they signed Pedri, 5 million. It was called a gamble, a low-risk move, just another name for the future. But for Pedri, it was the chance of a lifetime, and he wasn't going to let it slip. Barcelona wasn't exactly a welcoming place for teenagers. The weight of expectation, the legacy of legends, the pressure to perform immediately. But Pedri didn't flinch. When Ronald Koeman took over as manager, few expected him to rely on a 17-year-old from the second division. But Pedri kept showing up in training, kept making the right pass, kept outshining players with twice the experience. He earned his spot, not as a backup, as a starter. What came next was remarkable. He went from a total unknown to the most consistent player at one of the world's biggest clubs. He didn't need time to adapt. He belonged from day one. In midfield, he formed telepathic connections. His chemistry with Lionel Messi was instant, fluid, intelligent, and almost unspoken. And then came the moment that made the world sit up. A Champions League match against Juventus. Cristiano Ronaldo's team, the kind of night that defines players. But Pedri, he played it like any other game. Calm, precise, relentless. He glided past defenders, dictated tempo, and owned the stage like it had always been his. By the end of his debut season, Pedri had played more minutes than anyone else in the squad. He wasn't just a surprise, he was indispensable. He won the Golden Boy Award, officially crowned the best young player in Europe, and at just 18, he became the heartbeat of Barcelona. Spain noticed too. He was called up for the Euros and played every single minute of the tournament. He wasn't just competing, he was leading. And when the Euros ended, there was no rest. Straight to the Tokyo Olympics. More minutes, more pressure, no breaks. The football world was in awe. But behind the praise, a question lingered. How long could this go on? Pedri was a marvel, but he was also human. And no matter how gifted you are, there's only so much the body can take. After playing 73 matches in a single season, more than any player in world football, his engine started to falter. At first, it was a dip in sharpness. Then came the injuries. A thigh strain here, a knock there. Each time he returned, the problems resurfaced. Barcelona had no choice. They shut him down for 4 months. Not because he wanted to stop, but because his body had finally forced him to. It was a harsh lesson in limits. For the first time, Pedri had to watch instead of lead. But in that silence, something shifted. He grew, not just in fitness, but in understanding. He realized he wasn't just a player anymore. He was a cornerstone. When he returned, he wasn't eased in. He was central. Under Xavi Hernandez, the system changed to revolve around him. He brought calm to chaos. His intelligence gave structure to a team that had lost its way. And though he had missed a huge part of the season, his presence was enough to guide Barcelona back to second place in La Liga. Pedri had proven something more valuable than a flair. He had shown resilience. He had shown leadership. Champions League nights. That's where legacies are made. And though Pedri had transformed Barcelona in Spain, their struggles in Europe continued. His injuries kept him out of key matches. And it became clear, if Barcelona wanted to return to European dominance, they needed a Pedri who was not just great, but available. In 2025, Barcelona made a statement. They extended Pedri's contract until 2030. They weren't just investing in talent, they were building a new era around him. With Hansi Flick's arrival, Barcelona entered a new tactical age. Gone was the slow, methodical build-up. In came high-pressing, quick transitions, and direct football. And once again, Pedri adapted. His pass accuracy stayed elite, 88.3%. But now, he added more goals, more assists, and more defensive work. Against Sevilla, he was involved in 5 of the team's 9 chances. He's no longer just a boy with vision. He's the engine, the brain, and the heart. At just 22 years old, Pedri González is no longer the weak reject from Madrid. He's Barcelona's present and his future.